Hi, welcome to Africa Oil Week. I'm Malcolm Graham Wood from Malcy's blog, which I'm writing this week from Cape Town.
So Mike, welcome to sunny Cape Town, a place that I believe is dear to your heart from memory. It's your wedding anniversary today, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yes it is, and I don't have my wife with me. That's, I guess, the state of the industry right now, but...
That means you can have a drink or two. But look, you're obviously down here on business. It's Africa Oil Week. What are you hoping to find down here? I mean, are people active in the farm-out market, or is it quiet at the moment?
I think it's certainly more buoyant than it's been probably in 4 years. We've clearly seen a pickup over the last 2 years. As if you look at the graphs, the charts of the 2008 crash and the crashes before that, the 2003 rise, you can clearly see there's a lot more interest. Is there the money? Well, you're the person to tell me that, but there's clearly not the money that there was. There's a reticence to invest even in what I consider to be sure things. So recently I was talking with someone who should know what they were talking about, a guy called Charles Colas, who was a professor at Royal School of Mines in Colorado. And he calls this time the chaotic zone before the increase in potential oil price. And therefore, does that match with the cycle that I think is going to see a lot more activity going forward of the interest we're now seeing? I hope so, let me put it that way. There's certainly enough evidence of it. I've been now coming down, 3-4 years? And I'm seeing more buoyancy now than from quite a while.
I mean, clearly from 4 years ago when the oil price collapsed, it was horrific. Everybody pulled out. So it must be better. I mean, $60 oil, it's stable, but it still could do with being a little bit higher, really, for some of these African. I mean, Africa has a fairly high cost when it comes to, certainly offshore. Offshore Namibia is very expensive. I mean, how is that playing out?
Well, we have a project we're marketing, Envoi's marketing on behalf of Serica in Namibia. And we've seen a lot more interest because of the way we have gone about suggesting that there is hydrocarbon that hasn't been found by wells to date. But it's still, the interest is coming from the established E&P players, the companies with money that can invest in exploration. We're seeing a lot of interest in that and other projects by companies that would like to look, but quite honestly, they can't raise the money, or they haven't got the money. Most of those companies are looking for money to buy the production, which gets them back into to funding their own deals.
But the big boys are coming back in, aren't they? I mean, if you look at the Mozambique LNG, I mean, that's a massive project. The big boys are in there. I mean, I think that should stimulate business again, shouldn't it?
I'd like to think so. I think it all comes down, that comes down to politics. I mean, the resources have been found. Politically, will they enable the majors to make money? You need those companies to come back in to fund a lot of the deals that are out there. I mean, in this what Charles calls a chaotic zone time period, there's a phenomenal opportunity to get into deals at phenomenal price. So if I'm right, and Charles is right, and the price of oil does come back above more 70, 80 in the next 2 or 3 years, this is a great time to invest. And yes, if the majors are starting to see it and investing, as they are elsewhere in the world, then yes, this I would say potentially is a very good time.
And at Envoi, I mean, you mentioned you're working with Serica in offshore Namibia. Are you seeing it more offshore, onshore, east coast, west coast? Is there an area that's hot?
Interestingly, we've got projects in South Africa for New Age. We're marketing. We've literally just started marketing onshore Zimbabwe, a potential 90 CF prospect that could be drilled for $10 million. Now, totally untested basin, but it's gas. Look at all the majors, they're all looking for gas. You mentioned LNG, it's going gas because of the world's need for alternative fuel, perhaps the fuel to see the next energy transition. So I definitely think you're seeing a lot more interest in gas. People aren't worried about gas like they used to be 20, 30 years ago. And there's therefore great opportunities out there, both for the big companies to farm into and smaller companies farming out. If the smaller companies can generate the cash from the markets, whether it's private equity, whether it's the markets themselves or other sort of private sources, then I think you'll see a lot more interest in growing the portfolios that they can then hopefully farm out to more majors. The problem we have is there is a finite number of established major players with the cash flow right now to invest in deals. So there's a lot of interest. There's just not the cash to do it other than the established players.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's tough times. And I mean, look, it's great down here in Cape Town. I hope you're going to win some business. I'm sure you're hopeful you're going to win some business. But in general, just a quick global snapshot as well. I mean, is Africa a hot spot at the moment, or are you seeing maybe South America or places like that perhaps taking over a little bit?
Well, you've got Guyana, of course, 13 billion barrels. We've done a little bit of work in Suriname, and we're seeing across the border a transition of what they're finding there that hasn't yet been realised. Apache are drilling a well there right now, 100%. Now, no major companies drills 100% of a well unless there's some ulterior motive or reason. In their case, I think it's because they're confident. Let's hope so, because that would be great for Guyana. Africa, I think there are some tremendous hotspots still to be found. As a geologist, I wasn't myself convinced about Namibia until I worked for Serica and realised that there's potentially a regional seal that wasn't recognised, above which most of the wells that have been unsuccessful have been drilled. Below that, you have only 2 wells that have both found oil and gas, one in the Orange Basin and the Wingat well in the Walvis Basin. So there are geological plays with new technologies that I think are going to unlock and surprise people in Africa, as I guess Mozambique did, 10 years ago for Cove and others. So let's hope there are some surprises. But I think Africa, together with places like Ghana, are going to be certainly a serious place to go hunting if you're looking for that sort of E&P activity. So Africa's here to stay big time.
Maybe one final question on that point. I mean, the country that everybody associates perhaps most with Africa and the oil and gas market is Nigeria. And I notice you haven't mentioned it once. I mean, there was a big sort of Nigeria bubble, should we say, 5-6 years ago. Is that all over? Is that finished, or is that still going?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, I've got to be careful what I say. Nigeria politically is a hot potato. And everyone...
Which African country isn't?
No, true. But Nigeria particularly, I mean, how many people have been burnt in Nigeria? Quite a few. But it is one of the oiliest places in Africa. I was talking to a gentleman here at your party tonight who has just done a deal in Nigeria. But like everyone else, it's a cultural understanding. If you know how to do business and you immerse yourself in the culture, you know the right deals from the wrong deals, there's tremendous opportunity in Nigeria. And it surprised me that people, probably enough companies, aren't willing to make that investment in understanding the culture and knowing how to do deals. Let's be honest, the UK, there are sharks as well as there are minnows. There's an opportunity there. Deals don't happen as perfectly as they might. So, to me, Nigeria may be more difficult, but there are tremendous opportunities. They are trying to clearly clean up their act. It'll take some years, but there's, politics is in the eye of the beholder. Where there's serious oil, there's always opportunity, and I think with a need to find production which funds the next phase of exploration, I think Nigeria is clearly a place that people can hunt if they're willing and prepared to do it in the right way. So I'm happy to say that about Nigeria. There's an opportunity.
Right, great to see you down here. I'm sorry your wife isn't here to join you on your wedding anniversary. Go back, do enjoy the party.
Well, thanks for inviting me and the opportunity to comment. Thank you.
Not at all. All right, thanks.
Cheers, Andrew.